the overall...
Serge Damso has won this event 5 times.
Yeah.
Jannie Habig's won it for the last 4 times in a row. Quite a battle we obviously expect between those two.
I think so. It's going to be, yeah, I would say that'll be where the main battle will be, up at the top between those two.
Enzo Kuhn obviously also a factor. He hasn't got a good record in this event. The last time he's been in the top 3 was in 1994, but obviously we can't discount him.
No, Enzo's a very quick driver, and I'm sure that he'll be wanting to win like everybody else in the top 4 or 5 cars.
Fernando Rueda, he's done well in the African Rally Championship. Hasn't quite had the same success on our local series, but this event again should suit his car, obviously with the top speeds. He'll be a factor, I reckon, on this event.
Yes, I would think so, although I think he's pretty new to this event, you know, and he hasn't run this car before here in the mountains as such. And the roads are a bit daunting, and, you know, whether he can do this, you know, maintain the sort of speeds required to win here, we'll have to wait and see how the day progresses.
Obviously, having said that, experience counts a lot in this event.
I think so. You have to build confidence in it over the years. It doesn't sort of come immediately. You know, it's I said previously, the roads are very daunting and the speeds are high, and you have to be committed. You know, totally committed to get good stage times.
Much like the faster Class A8 Volkswagen Golfs, the Class A7 Sasol dual-fuel player of Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lefkowitz has endured a torrid year with 3 retirements in 5 events. JP Damso and Cobus Frey in the Class A7 Team Total Toyota Corolla started the year with retirements and a crash in the first 2 events. Since then, however, they have finished consistently. In an unbelievable run of bad luck, Chart van der Walt and Mike Burrows in the second player had retired from all 5 2003 rallies contested. Needless to say, they were desperate for a finish on this event. The ABC Motors Subaru Impreza of Nicholas Ryan and Brian Careyhill were the surprise package in the opening rallies of the year. They led the Group N class after 3 events, but a subsequent run of poor results had dropped them down the pecking order. Visser du Plessis and Thilo van Westernhagen were learning the intricacies of their Lipton Ice-T Subaru Impreza in their first year in the car. 2 non-finishers had not helped their cause. Stage 1 was won by Etienne Lawrence by just 1 second from Serge Damso. Enzo Kuhn was a further 7 seconds in arrears, with Jannie Habig 18 seconds off the pace. Anxious faces in the Toyota camp after stage 1. The Runix had lost fluid and needed a refill. The Sasol dual-fuel Volkswagen Golf of Jannie Habig and Douglas Judd was first on the road, but already in trouble. It had damaged the rear axle in testing, damage that would end the pair's chances of victory. In car with Serge Damso and Robert Paisley in the Castrol Toyota Runx. Damso's last win on this event was in 1996, and he was keen to add to his victory tally. Despite the fluid scare at the end of stage 1, the car was running smoothly. Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson in the second Class A8 Sasol dual-fuel Volkswagen Golf had never won this event and were determined to put the record straight. However, the Golf's starter packed up and they had to drive cautiously. A spin and a stall would end their rally. Etienne Lawrence and Andre Vermeulen had taken the fight to the Class A8 cars all year long in their Class A7 Team Total Toyota Corolla, and this event was no exception. They were on the limit from the word go, winning the first stage before pipping Damso by another second on this test. Fernando Rueda was teamed with Martin Buerter for the final time in the Class N4 Motion Vehicle Wholesalers Mitsubishi Lancer. Buerter would retire after the event due to business and family reasons. Skalkberger also lost his regular navigator Vito Bonafedi. The latter had originally agreed to contest just 1 event but was coaxed into doing 5. Old partner Piet Swanepoel was in the hot seat this time around. Berger narrowly led Rueda in the Group N points classification, and the two would fight hammer and tongs throughout the event.
50. Fast left over ditch. Into turn slow left. Into turn slow left. Right flat.
Fecken was well out of the chase, but once again had a point to prove. Lawrence had been the star of the year, but Fecken was determined to prove that he could keep pace with his past rival. Damso Jr. was also keen to prove that he could challenge Lawrence and Fecken in a straight fight. He was pushing the Corolla hard, but would lose time to his rivals. With minimal class opposition, former track star Charles Wilken and Robin Houghton were in line to wrap up the class title in the Class N3 Castrol Toyota Runex. Wilken's commitment has been impressive all year, and a title in his first year rallying would be just reward. The top car BMW of Cliff Blackman and Johan Claassen was sporting Hugo Boss watches sponsorship for the first time. The car found reliability in the previous 2 events, and the crew was hoping for more of the same. Dean Sanders and Rod Herring had only 2 finishes to their name in the Class N2 Team Total Toyota Corolla, but with a tough 3-way fighting class the norm, they desperately wanted a good result. Class rivals Richard Bem and Grant Sinclair in the Palbin Toyota Corolla had finished just 1 event out of 3 and won it. A repeat would be very nice, thank you. Chris de Wit and Janine Labuschagne in the CTH Transport Toyota Corolla were the 3rd of the 3-way class battle. Reliability saw them holding a healthy class lead. Despite 2 non-finishes out of 5, reigning champions Rodney Visagie and Carolyn Swan were ahead in the Class A5 Championship in their Team Total Toyota Taz. Another former track star, Gugu Zulu and Dave McGregor, had put in some fine drives during the season in their Sasol Volkswagen City Golf, but their 2 non-finishes saw them languishing 4th in the class standings. Journalist Michele Lupini had not finished an event this year in the Sabat Toyota Taz. Teamed with Gary Kingsley Wilkins for this event, he would once again retire at the end of the stage. The scenery was spectacular, with the mountains of adjacent Lesotho covered in snow. Small wonder the wind was icy. Habich was his usual committed self in stage 3, but the axle problem was unnerving on the fast mountain passes. The rear end kept on jumping around. Damso was hard at it early in stage 3, but it was not to be his stage. Navigator Paisley clocked them in a minute late, incurring a 10-second penalty. A puncture later in the stage dropped them 1 minute 20 seconds behind Lawrence, severely denting their victory hopes. And Hodgson was still erring on the side of caution due to the starter motor problem. The Golf was also suffering from a crankshaft sensor failure, further hindering their progress. But they still won the stage by 3 seconds from Lawrence. We joined them to see just how they did it.
Right 3, into right 2. Right 3, into right 2. 250. Left 2. Left 2. 50. Flat right, flat 50. Left 2. Left 2. 100. Right 1. Right 1 here. Right.
Lawrence was still on the limit. This was about 10 kilometers into the stage, and he and Damso were quickest up to this point. The total sponsored crew would lose time later in the stage, though, the result of not selecting a new set of rear tires at the start of the stage. Second fastest would be their reward. Having won 3 events in the African Championship, Rueda was full of confidence of repeating the feat on local soil. However, the big Group N4 cars were battling at the high altitude due to the power-sapping effect of the 32mm air restrictors used to control the pace of these turbo cars. Back on board with Damso and Paisley later in the stage. Listen and watch as he battles with a punctured tire. The flailing rubber also ripped off the brake pipe at this point. Having lost 18 seconds to Rueda in the first 2 stages, Berger bounced back on stage 3 to reclaim 13 seconds. There was no lack of commitment from Fecken in the stage, but the player was also struggling to make power at this altitude. The region offers spectacular scenery, but unfortunately the crews don't have much time to notice. Despite having no confidence in the rear end of the Golf, Habik was displaying his fearlessness by pushing the car to the limit, much to the delight of the crowd. Damso has won many rallies coming from behind. Having lost so much time with the puncture, he was pulling out all the stops in stage 4. He took back a significant 25 seconds over the 38-kilometer test. Keane was now up to second overall and chasing Lawrence hard, despite still having to display an element of caution. With Damso now well back, Lawrence held a 14-second lead over Keane. He would extend that by another 3 seconds on this stage. Fecken was going well in the stage until he too punctured a tyre. Fortunately, it was closer to the end, but it nevertheless cost him a minute, allowing Damso to close in for 4th place. Damso Jr. was unable to match the pace of Lawrence, but he was putting in consistently fast times to run comfortably ahead of the Group N4 cars of Rueda and Berger. This was the furthest that Van der Walt and Burrows had made it in a rally all year long. They were in a state of shock. Vulcan openly admitted that he was not as committed as usual on this tough event, but he was still maintaining a quick pace. Bem had driven superbly to lead the N2 class by 41 seconds after 3 stages. It was now a two-way class fight after rival Sanders retired in stage 2. With no real Class A6 opposition, Craig Trott and Gerard Sneerman were once again on their own against the clock in the team total Toyota Corolla. De Wit lost out to Bem in the first 3 stages, but would take 12 seconds back on this test after the latter eased off a bit too much. Visagie lost time to Gugu Zulu in the first 2 stages, but won the 3rd and 4th to hold a 35-second lead. Tony Ball and Alec Harris were running well down the field in their Bulwer Park Motors Volkswagen Player, but their times placed them well within the top 15. Zulu's City Golf was suffering from a loss of power and a misfire, which cost him time to Visagie. Note the overturned spectator bucky. Running further down the field were Andy Haig-Smith and Gerald Brace in a Toyota, followed by the Rally Chicks team of Lola and Megan Verloc in a Subaru Impreza. After a layoff, Manny Saville returned to action in his Subaru with Dean Riedlinghuis as navigator. Nkosinathi Nzimande and Fani Meyiwe were struggling to get on the Class A5 pace in their Sasol City Golf. Charles Stradom and Saki Bosman, driving a Sabre Paints Volkswagen Golf, were engaged in a tight battle for second in Class A6 with Haig-Smith, and John and Douglas Williams in an aging Toyota Conquest. All 3 crews were well off the pace of class leader Trott. Stephen Patter and Kelvin Flockhart were also struggling with the stages in their Class A5 Powerflow Volkswagen City Golf. Similarly, Dion and Stella Kuleski were having a tough time of it in their Class A7 Polo Player. And Ryan and Carrie Hill's misfortune continued when they went off the road on a difficult corner. After being stuck for 45 minutes, they limped out of the stage, but it put them to the back of the field. Brothers Brian and Keith Heine were once again the only Class N1 entrants and wrapped up the class title by just finishing the event in their Penny Pinchers Volkswagen City Golf. After 4 stages, the rally had already passed the halfway mark. The technical crews had 45 minutes at service to fettle the cars.
Serge had a bit of a tough start to this event.
Yeah, on the 3rd stage we had a puncture, which right in the beginning, quite understand how I got it. And then the worst part of it knocked the brake pipe off. So, you know, it was quite a scary stage for 20 kilometers with a puncture and no brakes. So we lost a lot of time there.
But you renowned for charging from behind. Obviously, Phil, you still got a good shot at winning it, although it is a short event.
It's very difficult to, to make up time here, but anyway, we're going to just try and see.
Etienne Lawrence, you're once again having a fantastic event, leading it at the halfway mark.
Yeah, I really can't complain. It's much to my surprise as well. We had a good first stage, and I thought, and then the second stage we were 1 second ahead. And then, the other guys had a problem with the flat wheel. So gave us a bit of a gap, and we are currently taking 3-4 seconds off the V-dubs. So Enzo and Habich, which is, so the pace is there.
Enzo, you're running second at the halfway mark. How's your event gone so far?
Pretty eventful. We've been nervous up to now because we've had a crank sensor failure and a starter failure. So if the car dies or we stall it, we can't restart. So we've been really trying to drive clean and neat, not to stall the car or spin it. And apart from that, we're just trying to stay ahead of the Toyotas. They really seem to have the legs on us here. We're 14 seconds behind Etienne at the moment, and he's putting up a good fight. And on the last stage, we had the wrong tyre choice. The car was washing towards the end, running out of road on the exit of the corner. So we had to bring our entry speed down. And but we got the right tyres here now, and looking forward to look for some speed in the next stage, especially now we got a starter.
Yanni, you've won this event the last 4 years, and I think you'll set a record if you win it 5 in a row. You're running third at the moment. How do you rate your chances?
No, we're having a bit of a tough event. We think during testing something got bent in the back suspension, which keeps moving in the stages, so that's making the car very nervous, and it seems to jump a meter to each side at its own free will. So it's it's very difficult to place the car and really commit for corners. Yeah, at this stage I wouldn't take a lot of high odds on the betting stakes. It's going a bit tough.
Skalkberger, you're having a good Class N4 dice with your old rival Fernando.
Yes, at this stage, it's very close. We're only 11 seconds between the two of us, and there's still 4 stages to go.
And how's the car going?
No, the car's perfectly. But not on power because of the altitude, but the car is very reliable and goes very nice.
Oh, good. And the roads, fast and good conditions, I believe.
Very fast and very good condition.
Fernando, you've been dominating in Africa this year. A really good year for you. How's this event going?
Yeah, this event has been very difficult for us with the N4s. We just can't get the cars to go. People that haven't won or have not beat us on the stage for 2 years are drilling us. And it's not only us, the other N4s, we're still leading N4, but we just cannot get the power out of the cars. They're very heavy, they don't want to get up there. And I mean, while in Cape Town we can go into the limiter where we're pulling maybe 195, here we don't see any more than 175, 180. It's very frustrating. And really I got no answers for the A7s at all. We've tried anything and everything, and we're not getting anywhere.
Ryan's crew had to replace the lower control arm in a hurry. They would be forced to take 23 minutes of lateness, incurring a 3-minute 50-second penalty.
So, he's doing a fantastic job. I mean, he's really committed. As we were lucky enough to be spectating on one of the stages, and you could just see the total commitment when he came past us.
And possibly a disappointment is the N4 cars, the four-wheel drives and turbocharged. At altitude, we would have thought that they would have an advantage, but it seems to be working the other way for them.
Well, yes, I'm not so sure that the turbocharging is a disadvantage. As I said to you earlier, I think that you have to have done this event a few times to really be committed, as the top guys are, to go at that pace. And I think Rueda and Skalk are finding that pace very fast.
Into stage 5 with Lawrence. With Kuhn breathing down his neck, the Centurion-based businessman could not afford to ease up. He pushed hard on the stage, but Kuhn would nevertheless close the gap by 6 seconds. In trying to make up for the power loss, Rueda was using the entire road and a bit more in his efforts to keep Berger at bay. Would it be enough? Yes, it would, but by just 1 second. We joined Berger and Swanepoel as they negotiated the stage.
Uphill, medium right. 100 easy left. Easy left into fast right. 40 fast right. Into fast left. Opens and closes. Fast left.
Damso Jr. was running in a strong 6th place and pushing hard. At the end of this stage, he had closed the gap to Fecken to just 2 seconds as the two traded stage wins. Having won Class A6 last year, the Somerset West drivers struggled on occasion to produce consistently fast times in the A7 car. But this time round, he appeared to be consistently close to Fecken. Du Plessis and van Westenhagen lost 3 minutes when they were forced to change a flat wheel in stage 4. Before they could pick up on the pace notes again, they went off the road at the same place as Ryan, almost crashing into the latter's car. Fortunately, they did not damage the Subaru and continued without losing too much further time. Vulcan was still driving within himself, but was nonetheless trading stage times with the Class A6 Corolla of Trott. Apart from a minor gremlin in stage 1, the Runx was running faultlessly. After a nightmare start to the season with 3 retirements on the trot, Blackman took the preparation of the BMW in-house to Pietermaritzburg and has finished every rally since. The car is still carrying too much weight, but is getting more competitive at every event. Stage 6 was the longest of the event at a shade over 40 kilometers. Habich had moved into 3rd overall when Damso had his puncture in stage 3, but was powerless to keep him at bay. He slipped to 4th in stage 4, over a minute ahead of the next man. But he was still pushing hard in case those ahead slipped up.
Easy right, fast left and turn medium right. And turn medium right, bridge, do not cut, do not cut. Fast left. 50, easy right 200.
Damso had won both stages since his puncture and would win this one as well. His time of 20 minutes 22 seconds was 11 seconds faster than that of Lawrence. Keane was just 2 seconds slower than Lawrence on the stage, but Damso was now a threatening 13 seconds behind. Lawrence was driving with an eye over his shoulder. He knew that he could hold off Damso if he kept up a good pace and did not make a mistake, but could not afford to be too cautious. This looks pretty fast to us as he extended his lead over Keane to 12 seconds. Rueda stretched his lead over Berger to 10 seconds after stage 5, but the veteran from Pretoria fought back on this stage to put the Spaniard under pressure for the final 2 tests. Berger was determined to beat Rueda in a straight fight and used all his experience of the event to push as hard as he dared. It was good enough to win back 6 seconds on this stage, leaving the gap between the two at just 4 seconds.
Medium right, caution, medium left, over concrete. Closes, now medium left, over concrete. And crest flat, into easy right.
Fecken was still going well and totally committed on this stretch of road. His pace was just a few seconds off the leaders, but he would retire a few hundred meters further on with engine failure. JP Damso lost a chunk of time on this stage, but Fecken's retirement promoted him into 5th overall. Du Plessis gave photographer Dave Ledbetter a scare in this corner after entering too quickly, but both survived. He was now third in Class N4. Zulu, still battling to get maximum power out of the City Golf due to a ruptured silencer, passed the stricken player of teammate Fecken near the end of the stage. Habich had resigned himself to not scoring his 5th Motorpix Mountain Trial win in succession, but he was still giving it a full go to the end. Damso won the final 2 stages of the day to slip ahead of Kuhn by just 3 seconds in stage time. However, with a 10-second penalty imposed for the late check-in, he slipped back to 3rd in the overall standings. It was a great drive from the veteran. Going into the final stage with a 2-second lead, Kuhn was aware that the Toyota would be docked the 10 seconds and was not prepared to take chances. Nevertheless, he still had a brief spin. The hard-earned 2nd place was his first podium on the event since 1994.
Okay, whoop. That's it. 6-1-5.
The stars of the rally, though, were Lawrence and Vermeulen. They won from the front by leading from start to finish for a well-deserved and overdue victory. It was by no means an easy win. They had to withstand pressure throughout and did not make a single mistake. With just 4 points now separating the pair and Damso and Paisley, the championship fight is set to go all the way to the wire. Rueda stretched his lead over Berger to 11 seconds on stage 7 and felt comfortable of taking the class win with just the final short stage to go. Berger had other ideas though and took 9 seconds back off the Mitsubishi to finish a scant 2 seconds behind in the final results. Damso Jr. stroked his Corolla home for a well-deserved 5th overall and a 2nd in class. Van der Walt was ecstatic to make it to the finish line. 3rd in class was a bonus as he was rusty and simply intent on regaining his confidence during the event. Vulcan and Houghton made the finish in 11th overall to become the first champions of the year. Blackman made it 3 finishes in a row and his first in the top 10. And Trott took another easy Class A6 win with 10th overall and almost wrapped up the title. De Wit won Class N2 after Bem buckled a wheel and lost 2 minutes. Class A5 went to Versace and Swan to increase their championship lead. And the Heine brothers also secured their Class N1 title just by finishing. The victors arrived at Park Firm to celebrate their 3rd overall rally win after a great drive. Damso also drove superbly while the Golf boys could not keep up with the Toyotas but hung in there all the way to the end with gritty drives.
Etienne, your first win of the year. Great win from the front. How does it feel?
Great. No other words. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, we had a good dice right from the start. And the pace was quite hot. And then Serge had a problem and then came back fighting. And yeah, there was just not enough time left or stages left over to pass us. Yeah, we had a good dice with Enzo and Albert.
And this really puts you once again right up with Serge in the championship battle. 2 rounds to go. It's flat out from here on in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hell, I tell you, for the last 2 ones. But you know, it's great. It's great for the car, it's great for A7, it's great for the sport.
And the event itself, your comments, as always, a fast event?
Yes, yes, very much so. And the stages were, I think, easier on the cars and drivers and probably navigators who may not agree with me, but I don't think that the roads were as demanding as they have been in the past. The event was very short. I would have liked to have seen another 25 odd kilometers and some tighter mountain passes incorporated. But the clerk of the course tells me that's difficult for him because it makes the servicing virtually impossible for the crews if he has to go and do places like Lundine's Neck and Buster Foot Putt and those exotic stages which are more demanding than the ones they had today.
But if you look at rallying in the past, in the 70s, I mean, you guys used to run stages that were over 100 kilos long in some places. I mean, surely they could run 2 or 3 stages without servicing and keep the servicing at 1 point.
Yes, a good point, Ian. You know, today they try and service after every stage, and I think if a driver or a team knew that they didn't have service, they would try and make pretty sure that they were able to do the required distance between service points.